You get lost in your head. It's a little bit like analysis paralysis, but slightly nuanced. And, there's one thing is to not be able to make a decision. There's another thing where lost in your head is like you literally get lost. You might forget what your vision is and someone reminds you and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. I mean, because you get because you're pulled into the minutia and because you're dealing with all these decisions, like you just start to lose mental energy, if you will, to remember why it is you're here, what you're doing, why you're doing it. What are the top 3 reasons that keep entrepreneurs stuck? Hi, I'm Adam Landrum from Made to Matter, and today we're going to explore those top 3 reasons, plus the top 3 antidotes to address those reasons. So let's just go ahead and dive on in. If you've been an entrepreneur and for any amount of time, certainly you've dealt with times that you've been stuck, that it hasn't been like Inc. magazine or Fast Company that pretends that like everything just goes so smoothly in the right direction, right? Growth, hockey stick. What it looks like is much more like a hairball in terms of if you've seen that meme of an entrepreneurial's life. And it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating to be stuck because you have so much more potential to really bring your vision to the market and make an impact and make a difference. What you want, I'm sure, is you want your business to matter, but you also want your life to matter, and you don't want to lose your life basically to the business. And oftentimes that can happen. The business can just chew you up and eat, devour your life, if you will, if you let it. And that's the key, if you let it. So, but let's look at the 3 traps that we can fall into. And by the way, this isn't blame. This is natural. If this hasn't happened to you, then you're not human. I'm joking. You're probably human. But all right, let's go ahead and look at these 3 things. The first thing is analysis paralysis, right? Like as an entrepreneur, what people don't appreciate and or maybe recognize is that you're thinking about strategy, you're thinking about the vision, of course, hopefully the vision before the strategy. You're thinking about you need to be thinking about sales, but you got to be hiring people, but then you're managing people and leading them, you're inspiring them, encouraging them, hopefully motivating them, but yet you're holding them accountable. Your clients are knocking on the window or the door or the whatever, and they have needs. They're not happy about something, and you're supposed to get that big check in last week and it hasn't come in. Does this sound familiar? You have a lot going on and people don't recognize how much you are juggling, and even the stress and the weight of all of that. And so it's no wonder that you have some analysis by paralysis. Like it's no wonder that you suddenly find yourself in a space of indecision, right? So completely normal. But what we want to do is we want to recognize, hey, that's a risk. As the entrepreneur, as the one running the show, the one who's in charge and responsible, that analysis paralysis can really do a lot of harm and can get us stuck and can stop momentum and we stop moving forward. And that's exactly what we want to avoid, and what I'll talk about later about how we can avoid that. So the second thing is that we get sucked into the weeds. Personally, this is my my favorite stuckness, if that makes sense. Said another way, I hated this one. I would call it 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Like all of a sudden you are making progress, and all of a sudden you find yourself back in the seat. You reverted back. You grew to a level. Maybe you were able to hire someone, and then that someone maybe let you down, and now you got to go back and do that work. Oh, that killed me when that would happen. So especially when it came to like prospecting, like, I worked so hard to get out of the prospecting seat that, and then when that person moved on or I had to let them go, whatever it may be, now I'm like, oh no, that means I have to prospect again. Right. And so you get sucked back in the weeds because of different circumstances. And again, so that stops the momentum, that gets you stuck. And if you don't move out of the weeds quickly enough, you could find yourself there forever. All right. So, and then the third one is that start to lose energy, mental energy, if you will, to remember why it is you're here, what you're doing, why you're doing it. And you can get lost. And when you're making these decisions, you're really almost having like arguments or debates or conversations with yourself. And on one level, that's the definition of a crazy person, right? Is someone who just talks to themselves. And so you, so in my experience, and with me as an entrepreneur, but also in working with entrepreneurs, is like they just have so much going on. Like if I said stop, like where are you right now? They would probably look at me and go, I have no idea. I don't know where I am. And the entrepreneurial journey can feel that way. And again, I just want to normalize it and say, that's normal. If you're feeling that, that's like a good sign. You're on the right track, right? But what we don't want to do is we just don't want to get stuck there. So these three areas, analysis by paralysis, sucked into the weeds, lost in your own head. These are temporary places that we will visit. It's inevitable. We will visit, but we don't want to stay there. And because if we stay there, we might get locked in there. All right. So how do you deal with these three things? Well, first of all, analysis by paralysis. Here's the best way to deal with this, in my opinion, is just a clear strategy and a clear plan. Now, it's easier said than done, but if I know what my 1-year goals are for the next 12 months or a calendar year, these are the 3 to 5 things that are most important to me. And I break them down every quarter to make progress towards those. That helps keep me focused and keeps me and keeps me on the path, so I don't have to keep making the same decision over and over again. One of my favorite sayings is, why make 2 hard decisions when you can make it once, right? And so again, in my experience, analysis paralysis can be like you keep making the same decision over and over again, because you don't have a clear strategy and you haven't written down what's important. If you keep that in front of you, that will keep you on track and keep you out of bucket number 1 there. Number 2 is sucked into the weeds. The biggest thing why I think entrepreneurs get sucked into the weeds is because they may have defined everyone else's job, but what they haven't done is define their own. So there are really about 5 things that you should be responsible for. And that might not be a reality when you first start. You might be responsible for 37 things. Your job is to make sure you start throwing off the hats. You're wearing all the hats, right? And you start delegating hats as quickly as you can, as effectively as you can. But what are the 5 things when all the hats are divvied out that you should be doing? And I would say it's vision. You got to have a clear vision for your company. You got to know why you exist, right? And I'll just say that's part of the vision. Strategy. You are the one driving the strategy. You're saying, hey, this is where we're going and how we're going to get there. And then sales, right? You need to be an integral part of sales as a founder, as an entrepreneur. And I hated when people told me that, but it's true. And then I'm going to leave the other 2 up to you. But those are the 3 things you need to do, and you need to do those 3 plus 2, those 5 things, and stick to them. When you get sucked into the weeds, it is usually because you're not doing one of your 5 core functions of your role. Okay. And then lastly is lost in your own head. And I just say, like, every entrepreneur should have either a therapist or a coach or both, right? And it also helps to have a significant other or spouse who is 100%. I mean, my wife was definitely my main consultant and counselor during the 22 years that I ran my own business. But I also had coaches, and my coaches were absolutely life-changing. And I say this, whether it's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that you get support, because this is a very hard job, being an entrepreneur. It is hard, and it can get confusing, and you can literally get lost. So I don't know about literally, but you can get lost in your head and you'll go crazy. And so make sure that you get someone that you can talk to about these things and process these decisions. Otherwise, you could get stuck there. So I hope that was helpful. Again, I'm Adam Landrum with Made to Matter. And what I do is I help entrepreneurs grow and build something that matters, both in their business and in their personal life. All right, take care.